Hey, today I'm talking about 3 brand new movies that are either foreign films or based on a foreign film. And their titles are The Guilty, Titane, and The Mad Women's Ball. First up is The Guilty. This is a Jake Gyllenhaal film based off of a Danish film from a couple years ago. The basic premise is Jake Gyllenhaal plays a 911 dispatcher and he gets a call that changes the course of his entire night and maybe his entire life. Ooh. I have not seen the original one, so I'm only going to be talking about just this one. Though online people have saying, this is kind of a pointless remake, just watch the original, this is just a shot-for-shot remake, we didn't need this. I can attest to that because I've just seen this one. And this one was great. I really enjoyed this movie. It was super intense. It kept my attention the entire time, and the mystery was really fascinating. And kind of thinking back on it, had I paused at any moment to kind of think about things, I probably could have called out a few of the plot points, but I was just so engrossed in the story that I didn't have time to kind of think about that stuff in depth. So it worked. The story was told well. I will definitely eventually watch the original, but I want to give this one just a little bit of time to kind of stand on its own. Regardless though, I definitely recommend this one. It's just a really good, intense movie. It's basically just a guy sitting in a room kind of yelling at people for a while, but it works surprisingly well. Yeah. Next up is Titane. This is a French film that I've been highly anticipating, and I'm not going to say the premise of this movie because for those of you who choose to watch this movie, it's best to go in as blind as possible because a lot of the fun is just trying to figure out what the hell is going on, because it's not clear and it takes a lot of turns, and some of those turns are really messed up. God. But I don't recommend this movie to most people. It's very, very weird and very violent at times, to the point of I was squirming at the violence. And there's a lot of nudity. And honestly, I don't think I understand the ending. But even with that, I still enjoy this movie a lot. It's so weird and so strange. I can guarantee you have not seen a movie quite like this before. You are in for an experience with this movie. But again, I don't recommend it to everyone. If you think you can handle this movie, go for it. It's a trip, but you have been warned. Yeah. And lastly is The Mad Women's Ball. This is a French movie starring Lou Delarge, my 7th one of her. I just love her so much. And it is directed by and also co-starring Mylène Laurent, the French chick from Inglourious Basterds. She also directed Breathe, the amazing movie I watched last year where I discovered my love for Lou, and I highly, highly recommend that movie. That movie's fantastic. The premise of this movie is, it is about this woman who can talk to spirits, and that ends up getting her sent to an insane asylum. And then from there, the movie basically turns into One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So this movie was alright. It was shot well, it was acted well. I liked the spirit stuff. I wish they would have done more with that, especially to help differentiate themselves from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But because it is so much like that other story, this one's just okay. I wouldn't recommend this movie. I would recommend just going to watch One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest because it's a classic for a reason. It's great. Who doesn't love Jack Nicholson? And Danny DeVito. I don't regret watching this movie. I'm glad I watched it. I'm just not gonna come back to it anytime. I will say though, there was a surprising amount of nudity in this movie, and I wouldn't have brought this up normally, but I watched this movie while on a plane next to a stranger, and every time nudity came up, I'd be like, oh no, I gotta hide my phone. How do I hide my phone? And it was a real struggle. The worst situation possible. I feel bad for past me. Ugh. So yeah, it was okay. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got The Guilty sitting at number 8 in the really like section. And then after that is Titane, sitting at number 22 in the quite like section. And then bringing up the rear is The Mad Women's Ball, sitting at number 43 in the liked section. And this is out of a total of 53 new movies so far this year, and that brings the grand total out of all the movies I've seen so far this year up to 276.